Also in section 3.4, problem 29 is asking you to find the inverse function of f and then state whether or not that inverse is actually a function. So I've written over here a step-by-step process how to find the inverse function. So the first step is to rename f of x using the letter y. So I'm just going to rewrite this entire function that was given to me in problem 29, and all that I'm doing is changing the f of x into a letter y. Second step, switch all of the x's and the y's in your equation. So just wherever you see an x, write y, and wherever you see a y, write x. And then the third step, the one that is usually the most time consuming, is to solve for the letter y. Alright, so I want to get to this y. I need to subtract 7 from both sides. Next, to get rid of the square, I would have to take the square root of both sides of this equation. And remember, when you take the square root of both sides of an equation, you should put in a plus or minus symbol in front of the square root. Finally, I can add 3 to both sides, and I'm going to rewrite it so that y is on the left. So I'm adding 3, but at the same time I'm also switching the sides of what has been written here. Alright, so I've solved for y, and then my last step is to rename the letter y as f to the minus 1 of x, which is read as f inverse of x. So the inverse function here is 3 plus or minus the square root of x minus 7. Alright, so we found f inverse of x, and then they also ask us to state whether or not that result is a function. In this case, it is not a function because of the fact that we had to put in that plus or minus. That plus or minus makes it possible for us to plug in a single x value that would give us 2 different y values, so then it would not be a function. For example, if you plug in x equal to 8, you'll see that you end up with 3 plus 1, which is 4, and 3 minus 1, which is 2. So 2 different y values from the same x value means that it's not a function. And just to reiterate the steps of finding the inverse function, it is rename f of x as y, switch the x's and the y's, solve for y, and then rename that y as f inverse of x.